Hello and, oh, that's loud. Hello and welcome to the Cambridge Union for tonight's Hong Kong debate. Just to be clear, in case there's anybody in here from the Daily Mail, we are the Cambridge Union, not the Cambridge University Students' Union. For those of you who've not been here before, the rules of this debate are simple. 3 speakers will speak for the proposition, and then the opposition, each giving an 8-minute speech in turn. We'll hear from one proposition and then one from the opposition. Then, after each double, something very special will happen, which is there will be a round of floor speeches, allowing you, the members, to make a brief speech in proposition, opposition, or abstention on this motion. If you don't feel like giving a proper speech, but feel outraged with the arguments that you've heard, or wish to interject, just raise your hand and say, on that point, or point of information, or something similar. If you're accepted, please wait for a microphone to reach you, state your name and college, and then let rip. But keep your comments brief, please. For those speakers who are joining us by the live link, bear in mind that your interjections will be subject to about a 6-second delay. So we are going to try to take them. We've spoken earlier to Martin and Josh. They're eager to take your points, but it will just be a little bit more complicated. We will do our best to fit your interventions in. Please do not intervene in the first or in the last minute of any of the speeches. Finally, for anybody who is nervous about speaking tonight on this very topical motion, be aware that your words will not just be audible in this chamber. There is a live stream to our members. We will approach anybody who speaks afterwards to gain their permission for their comments, interjections, floor speeches to be kept in the video that goes online. Without further ado, I would like to welcome our first speaker for the proposition, at least virtually. Martin Lee, who is on our video live link and will be appearing shortly, is a Hong Kong politician and barrister. He is the founding chairman of the United Democrats of Hong Kong and its successor, the Democratic Party. Nicknamed the father of democracy in Hong Kong, he is recognized as one of the most prominent advocates for democracy and human rights in Hong Kong and in China. The motion is that this House believes China is the new imperial power in Hong Kong. Martin, you have the ear of the House.
Good evening, everyone. We apologize for not being able to be physically present, but you'll see us. Not only in spirit, you're actually seeing us. Now, this proposition is so obvious that if it is debated in Hong Kong, people wouldn't attend. Of course, China is the new imperial power in Hong Kong. I suppose the only thing I need to say is it new? We all know that China is bossing around in Hong Kong, has been doing so for quite some time. So is it new? It is new because before Mr. Xi Jinping came into power in China, it wasn't like that. So I'm going to say that I'm going to tell you briefly what it was before, and I'll tell you, if Deng Xiaoping had been present today at this debate, he will be very angry that there are 3 people going to speak against me. In other words, I'm entirely on Deng Xiaoping's side, and I'm glad that the leader of the opposition to this motion knows Deng Xiaoping pretty well. And I can see that Deng Xiaoping indeed will be very angry with what's happening today. Because when Deng Xiaoping came up with this idea of one country, 2 systems, the foundation stone of that was that Hong Kong people will enjoy a high degree of autonomy in running Hong Kong's affairs. And China will not interfere. And all these things are promised, not only stated in the Sino-British Joint Declaration, but also repeated in the Basic Law. And I was appointed as one of the 59 drafters of the Basic Law. So I know that bit of the history. And that was important. Now, what is happening now today is not like this at all. Because the central government claims that it has comprehensive jurisdiction over Hong Kong. So the 2 things don't match. How can we have a high degree of autonomy when they have comprehensive jurisdiction over us. And I don't have to persuade you that this is happening, because China actually has been very honest, at least for once. China has published a white paper just 5 years ago, no, almost 6 now, 2014 in June, in which it claims to have comprehensive jurisdiction over Hong Kong and Macau. So they already say so. Now, I always said in the beginning, when I heard the 132 system, that it would be very difficult to work. But it could work. And I gave the example of a seesaw game, which we all played when we were young. If you've got a little boy sitting on this side, and the father sitting on this side, it goes like this. No balance, no fun. But if the old man were to move towards the center of the plank until an equilibrium is struck, then that is the game. So how can you have this balance? Two things. First, Beijing must not interfere. Otherwise it goes like this. The other thing is, there must be democracy in Hong Kong, so that our leaders, the chief executive, as well as all members of the legislature, are elected by the people. Then they will know that if they want a second term, if the party wants to remain in power, they must be perceived by the people of Hong Kong that they are always on our side, on our side. Otherwise, they won't win the next election. So these are the two important things. Unfortunately, we still don't have democracy. And I don't even know when we're going to have that, even though it was written into the basic law that universal suffrage is the ultimate goal, both for the election of the chief executive as well as all members of the legislature. And as for intervening, they are running the place. I mean, look at Hong Kong today. It's dysfunctional. Why? Because the chief executive, who is supposed to be accountable not only to the central government, but to Hong Kong, has been betraying Hong Kong. She is always on China's side, like this, always on this side. So how can there be a balance? How can Hong Kong have a high degree of autonomy? So this is not supposed to be. And indeed, China is the imperial power in Hong Kong. Not only that, Xi Jinping has already said, by 2025, China will be the imperial power of the world. So are we going to allow this to happen when China doesn't honor its own promises contained and enshrined not only in the Joint Declaration but in our mini constitution, the basic law? So I don't see how this motion can be defeated, and I will in fact invite intervention now, because I want to hear what you guys have to say. As I say, Deng Xiaoping won't be happy with you if you're not on my side.
Heard it, he's invited interventions from the floor, so those of you who disagree, go for it. I know we invited at least 3 people who disagree, so come on.
They're scared of Deng Xiaoping.
Point of information over there. Could you wait for the microphone, because he won't hear you without it.
Simply not as a challenge, but as a point of clarification. The motion says new imperial power, and I was wondering if you could clarify what it is for China to be an imperial power and how they're satisfying those demands rather than just being aggressive and unable to keep their promises.
Yeah, well, China, of course, is a sovereign power as far as Hong Kong is concerned. Hong Kong is part of China, there's no doubt about that, and it's written into the basic law. Hong Kong is an inalienable part of China. And that is why there cannot be any independence, all right? And we are not pushing. I've never pushed for independence for Hong Kong, all right? Because I'm holding China to its own promises, which they call their basic policies regarding Hong Kong. And I've been doing in politics, and even today, I've been pushing for that. Hong Kong people, in fact, support the Joint Declaration and the basic law. But now China wants to make light of the Joint Declaration. They say it's no longer relevant. Why? Because China has already got sovereignty back from Hong Kong, Kowloon, and new territories. So China should not be doing that. China should honor promises. Yes, China is the sovereign power for Hong Kong. No doubt about that. Sovereignty, no question. Right? Indeed, as of midnight, 1st of July 1997, that part of the equation was fulfilled. One country was there. And there was never any doubt about that. The young people of Hong Kong are not pushing for independence. They want China to honor the promises contained in the Sino-British Joint Declaration and the Basic Law. Now, not only old people like me want to hold China to its agreement, but young people, and you'll hear from Joshua, and I'm old enough to be his grandfather, and they are fighting. They are risking their future, and you will hear them soon. May I have another intervention, please?
I think time-wise, that maybe, if we had a very quick intervention, we might be able to take it. But perhaps I would urge you to give a 30-second summary of your position, Martin, just to end your speech.
Yeah. So what we want now is very simple. We're not asking for anything new. Democracy was promised. No intervention from Beijing is promised. We just want Beijing to honor its promises. And the world should defend us because the world support the Joint Declaration after lobbying from China. So now China has got international attention on Hong Kong. They are entitled to what they say because they supported the Joint Declaration, one country, two systems, and they still support it. It's Deng Xiaoping's version, mind you, not Xi Jinping's version of one country, two systems. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin, for that speech. Special thanks because it is 4 in the morning in Hong Kong.